going to be June, July, and August's Comic Haul. And I'm going to give just a few minutes of like a little intro. Now, I did put some of the books away for May, and then I realized that, oh yeah, the way I have my shelf is I don't like order it by month. I order it by series, author, publisher. So some of them I have like inconsistently. So it's like not inconsistently, but I have like June and July and August all one, or May, June, July on one shelf. So it's kind of But I put some away because I wanted to. It's a lot of books. I'm putting away 120 books. And I probably put away 20. I probably put away like 30 or 40. So it's a lot to put away. But I figured either way, I'd be taking however much long I need to take it anyways. So other thing is I don't know if I'm gonna get my books for the library because I read I like to read every day for the books, and I like to, if I have the whole day to myself, which I do, to read my books, one of each of all the books that I have left, and still a lot. It looks like we have a viewer now, so I think I'm okay to start. So just in case, so let's get a few more minutes. So actually, you know what I should do? I should get my phone so I can make sure that everything is going the way it should. And also should make sure that I don't have any books mixed in, because I'm not supposed to be. I don't have May. So I'm not going to go over a June book and then go over a May book. They already went over. So first 14 or so will be June's, just in case I don't say anything about it. So I'm going to pull up my videos. Doesn't show up right away, so I'm just going to pause here. It says I'm live at least. That's good. Okay. And then still good with everything. All right, cool. All right, so I'm assuming that the one viewer is the returning viewer. Oh, it says 0 now. But I'm going to give it until, let's say, I'll give it until 4 minutes. So I'll do a little more of an intro, and then if I don't have any. I don't know if we have a viewer, but it's probably just me. I'm just waiting for the returning viewer. So if he's there, comment. And then we'll get into it. Because I don't want to be like halfway into it, talk to myself. So a little intro before I get into it. So to kill some time. This week, Friday, you'll get another Omnibus Haul video. It'll just be Green Arrow Volume 2. Next week will be Library Haul. Yep, Library Haul. And comic reviews, the books that I finish. Hopefully I get to finish them. Hopefully I finish them by the point. Yep, we're good. All right, cool. All right, and then comic haul will be probably the following week, or if I'm lucky next week. But sorry, next week if I'm lucky next comic haul, hopefully. But without further ado, let's get into the June books. First up is a 3-volume series, and that is Nomen Omen. This is a 15-issue series. It's one of those series, if you're interested in it, issue 1 is free for Kindle Comixology if you want to check it out. 15 issues total, volume of 5 issues per volume. Now, this is one of those books that, for whatever reason, when I first saw it, I immediately thought it was a Boom Studios comic. Maybe because it has some like minor hints of something that's killing the children in its artwork. I don't know, but it was just one of those books that I was like, oh yeah, Boom Studios, and I was like, yeah, I'll just see if my library has. I kind of forgot about it, and then I saw it, and I remembered it again. I was like, oh yeah, it was that. Let's see, get that book, and I was like, okay, it's Image, let's get it. I'll obviously, like, I'm not like while I am exclusive to Image Comics, I won't like completely pass up a book if it's from another publisher. That's usually like if a library has, I'll check it out there. But again, I don't have enough money to get more than one publisher, so I just kind of get it's all or nothing for me. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. With a lot of things actually, we complete this. I want to get all the volumes in the series for the most part. Like Spawn, I'm probably just gonna just collect the compendiums if I ever get into Spawn. Nomen Omen Volume 1, Total Eclipse of the Heart, collects 1 through 5 of Nomen Omen. It's a horror fantasy comic. Looks pretty interesting. It had to do with like witches, and it was yeah, it's one of those kind of things. Yep. It's like a mythical war. She like there's a devastating accident. This person becomes like completely emotionless. Kind of one of those things. Sounded pretty interesting. Apparently, like they the writers of this comic believe the magic in they actually believe the magic in the comic, which hopefully means that it's going to be really good. And we got, and they do have a cover right there, and then there's the artwork for the series. And I'm going to show, because this is still issue 1, there are certain parts of this comic that are in black and white, which I like when comics do that, when it's not like the same sort of artwork. I obviously don't mind that if it's the same sort of artwork throughout, but like, we try something different. So it's written by Marco B. Bucci, with artwork by Jacopo Camanga. He's an artist and colorist. Then Volume 2, what was that? Volume 3. Volume 2, Wicked Game is 6 through 10, and then Volume 3 is 10 through, wait, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Oh yeah, 6 through 10 for Volume 2, and Volume 3 is 11 to 15. 15 issue series. Then I got this. It's an original graphic novel, so it doesn't collect any issues. It's 1 Week in the Library, written by the guy who brought us Ha Ha, which I do own, and Ice Cream Man, which is one of those books that, like, I should probably get before there's too many volumes of the series. I just don't like it when I'm like, when the volume will come out, the next issue that as after that volume comes out that next day. So think of it like the series collects 1 through 6, and then Volume 7 comes out when Volume 1 comes out. It's kind of like, well, now I'm not technically all caught up, and that's how what Ice Cream Man is. I think Ice Cream Man is actually behind a few issues. It only collects 4 issues per volume. I think because each issue is a bit longer, but I do want to check out that series. But this is also written by him. This is called 1 Week in the Library, and it's one of the very rare Image comics. I think because how thin it is, in that it's $10 for the whole entire series. Like, you know, it's not like, oh, this is Volume 1, but it's 3-volume series. Because Nomen Omen's Volume 1 actually wasn't. Nomen Omen Volume 1 was not $9.99. But one of the main drawing points for me getting to Image was that a lot of their Volume 1s were $10. So you could, that was like that. It was a lot of money saved. In fact, probably the best that I can think of off the top of my head, the best deal you can get on a book is Volume 1 of Monstrous. Almost 200 pages for $10, and it's a damn good series too. It's 1 Week in the Library. I'll show the artwork, and the artist is John Armour with Amor like Amora, and then colorist is Catherine Lena. Morena Amora. I was thinking the Italian song. It's a Morena Amora. That's the artwork. I think he's like trapped in the library, and it kind of reminds me of that Arthur episode when they get locked in the library. I think this goes a completely different route than Arthur did, because this is the Emperor Mature, and Arthur's a kids show, which sadly did get canceled pretty recently. Although I don't know how sad it was, because it ran for a long time. I think they still have the reruns on. It's not like one of those shows like a lot of Cartoon Network shows. So they've steadily been doing that. They've been putting it back on their schedule on TV. But I think nowadays, like, people have streaming services, and it's kind of like, well, I have to have that on TV because it was catch it on streaming services. But I wonder if Arthur still has reruns on PBS Kids. I don't know. I wouldn't know. It was a damn good show. That was one of the only kitty shows that I like every now and then I'll like watch a few episodes of it. Usually like an earlier season, because as it went along, they really lost focus on who their target demographic was. And they're like, yeah, well, our target demographic is kids, so let's just go all in for that and not for, you know, people who nostalgia and actually like the show. It's kind of like how people are into Bluey nowadays. It's the same thing for me. Next book is Blood River, which is actually based off a true story, according to the back of this book. It's A Curse, a Treasure, a Monster, Sex and Drugs, 4 Kids in the Woods, based on a true story. Written by Mike Avon Owen and Daniel Berman, with artwork done by Brian Quinn of Weird NJ. Is that it? Yeah, Weird NJ. That was a parenthesis, but Weird NJ. Michael Avon Omen did the artwork for Powers. I think he co-wrote it too. One of my favorite Bendis books, and it was actually done by Image, but it's Dark Horse now, and I probably should get those trades. Here is the interior artwork. It's black and white. It's pretty sketchy, but it's not terrible artwork for black and white. Black and white, I kind of feel like you have to really you have to kind of like it's hard to make black and white artwork work, so to speak. It's kind of one of those things where like Walking Dead does it really well, but there's this book that I got recently called Grip of the Covenant, and flipping through that book, the artwork was like I couldn't even tell what's going on sometimes because it was black and white. And in color, you can tell what's going on because it's blue, green here and then whatever. Another example is that, and this actually improved, the color version is From Hell by Alan Moore, which I really need to read that again. Not read it again, like I've read it all, but saying I haven't finished it yet. It's one of those books that I think is my most unpopular opinion. I didn't really like that book. I like all of his other books though too, so it's weird I didn't like that one. And I like the setting and like the story, so I didn't like it. I don't know why. I think it was just maybe too slow for me. But I thought it was gonna be a bit more faster paced than I thought it was. But I don't mind that. It's like everything that I think of, I wouldn't have liked. I'm like, no, I like in this book, and it's Alan Moore. But Blood River, it's all in one. It's an OGN. This one I got. Some of them for this month, for month of June, I got in. Yes, I know it's September, not June. But the month of June, I had gotten some that were used very good, and this was one of the ones. But this was on Amazon themselves, and I believe it was $3. It was $3 I got this for. That I was like, I have rules like I want to get all the books by Michael Avon Omen for Image Comics. I want to get all these books, and I wanted to get just one of them. And I was like, screw it, it's $3. Then we have Surgeon X, written by Sarah Kenny, with artwork done by John Watkiss, and that's it. Karen Berger is the editor, though. This is pretty weird. Oh, I'm memory of John Watkiss. That's sad. Collecting 1 through 6 of this series, and it seemed to be like it was yeah, it's like a apocalypse kind of surgeon in post-apocalyptic universe. Now this is one where they do not have. There's a prequel, like 12 issue. It's a prequel 12-page story that's actually 99 cents. At that point, it should be free. It's 12 pages on Image Comic on Kindle. I had to get that on the Kindle, so that's just for pointers for those who get into it. As I'm pretty sure it's not collected in here, even though it looks like it could be, because it's pretty thick for collecting only 6 issues. So this, it did look pretty interesting. The cover, like, I don't know why, but it reminded me, I don't know if it's the way the hairstyle is, but it reminded me of Laura Kinney from X-23, like Wolverine. And I found it funny that it was Sarah Kenny, because I believe Sarah Kenny was her mother's name, right? I could be wrong. But here is the interior artwork for Surgeon X. It wasn't our X book. It was like blank X. What was it? It's by Brian Edward Hill. I don't remember what it was called. Because at first I thought that was related to that series, but it wasn't. It was a spin-off, whatever. Pilot Season Volume 1. This is what I was mentioning. It's mentioned before, where you have the missing issue for Necromancer included in here. And I got this for, and I shouldn't really say how much I got it for, but it was just kind of, I made a good deal on something. I do give credit where credit's due for Amazon, because Amazon, for the most part, you can pay full price. Like, especially pre-ordering something, which I don't really like to do, but it's like, well, Amazon, or pray that New Ray Comics has them in local comic shop, which I do like that. I can get back to New Ray Comics. That last few months I've been just doing primarily Amazon, and I kind of got carried away with it, and it's like, yeah, well, why not do that? Alright, so something about stream. Let's see what it said. Oh, Logan's here. Hi, Logan. Did you do all your homework? Why isn't it showing here? I don't know. Alright, so how long you can be watching this, Logan? You're not into comics. Know what do you say now? Homework? Oh wait, you don't have any homework? Well, you probably don't, honestly. You probably don't have any homework. Honestly, why is it being so slow to me? Just dropped by a say hi. Yeah, I'm sure you did. That's good. I want to go on a live stream with you. You're doing a live stream this weekend. I want to try and join up that, but I don't know if it's Saturday, because Yeah, I can do that whenever. We got barely as much work as online do. Oh yeah. Well, online you're already doing work technically. Oh, you're not doing a stream this weekend? All right, that's fine. You announced it. You're going to piss off your fan base on Twitter by saying you did something but not do it. Yeah, you do. For your fucking 20-hour stream, you probably like are still behind. Yeah, it probably does. Mine is worse. I cannot get to bed any earlier than 2 in the morning, which for me is fine because I don't have any work or school, but once I get back into that, it's going to be really fucked. Alright, so back to the books. So this one was one of those ones where they had the Necromancer volume, but didn't have all the issues, so you got the pilot season issue beforehand. Just pretty neat. Yeah, you told me that. Yeah, you're about to get a head cold and you had to end the stream. So this one collects Velocity, Ripclaw, Psyblade, Necromancer, and Angelus. This is pilot season issues. And Necromancer, you had to. It was one of those things where it wasn't collected in a trade, which I found really weird. But there you go. That's where you get it. I got that for $5.99. It's used very good. There's a few blemishes. You can tell that's used very good, but it's not like it's honestly. I've said this once and I'll say it again. I've gotten books from Amazon themselves, new condition, that are worse than this. So when it comes to used books, I'm like, as long as it isn't terrible quality, I don't care. Time to take a nap. All right, bye, Logan's Media Hub. All right, next book is one of those books that actually it is $24.99, but I paid $19.99. Even at this price, 20th Century Men give you a lot for a little. And this is one of the many reasons why I like Image. Also, is that their pricing is consistent for the most part. Yeah, you'll get like there was a book. It's a 4-issue series. It was each issue was the same amount of pages as the average amount of pages. So it wasn't like it was like double the size, but it was like 104 pages, I want to say, in total, and it was $16.99 when usually that'd be $14.99. So sometimes, very rarely, they're inconsistent with their pricing. But for the most part, they're like really good, and you get good deals. Like, oh yeah, this 300-page book, you only have to pay $24.99. With even for Dark Horse, this would be at least $30, at least, and for Oni Press, it'd be like $50. I want it's not $50. It'd be $40 for Oni Press. Oni Press and I can't even think of, other than Scott Pilgrim, there's no other series I've liked. Oh, and Six Gun. I can't really think of a whole lot of series I've liked from them. I mean, really, liked enough to mention it. And honestly, that's because I haven't checked out a whole lot from them. They seem to kind of have, like, oh yeah, here's this book that, like underground. But I'm sure there'll be some Oni Press books I like, but Image and there's hardly any Image comics I don't like. Like, I have such a good, consistently good track record with them. This one collects 1 through 6. Those of you who saw that weird little break in between when I was talking to Logan on there, that's my cousin who we will stream. He's the one I stream with. I actually streamed with him on my birthday, and occasionally we'll do collabs like that. So that was what that was all about. 1 through 6 of the series, and it's all 6 issues too. Written by Denise Camp with artwork done by Strickland Morgan. Oh, and I didn't mention this, but there's a whole bunch of authors for this. Jason, I think the most. Yeah, let's go over them right there. Yep, Jason Aaron, Joshua Hale, Flakeoff, Joe Casey, Joshua Ortega, and Ian Eddington all wrote issues for Pilot Season 2007. I forgot to mention that. But this one, 20th Century Men, is Denny's Camp, written by Denny's Camp, artwork done by Stefan Morgan. I think it was colors too, right? Yep, art in general. Because again, I don't really credit the letterers, because not for any reason other than I just don't feel the need to. It's a letterer, W. Maxwell Prince gave this book praise, though. That's pretty interesting. So we were just talking about him the other one. G. Willow Wilson. Sorry, I'm gonna go back. I like to say who gave praise to books like this, like to books Especially if it's someone like Brian Azzarello, who I absolutely adore his writing. G. Willow Wilson too was pretty good. I liked her. I liked her Miss Marvel, and really nothing else, honestly. And even Ms. Marvel, like I agree with people who don't like the series. Like, yeah, and credit where credit's due. That is made me mad about the comic, and that kind of pissed me off about the comic. I didn't like about the comic, but I still could see past it, you know. But I still credit where credit's due. Can completely understand why people don't like that series. So even then, I'll put them there so it's easy to pick them up and show them off. So next one, so 20th Century Men is an Afghanistan, like, sort of superhero comic, I think. It wasn't superhero, but it was like, no, yeah, it was superheroes, geniuses, and madmen rush towards World War III. I think one of them was in, it was an Afghan woman, was one of them. So it was not Afghanistan, it just had an Afghan woman in it. It looks very interesting, and it's one of those books that, like, I know this sounds stupid, but the main selling point for me was, oh, look how much you get for so little. And I paid $20 for this, and it just looked interesting. It was one I almost got in May, but I had way too much to get, and it wasn't at Newbury Comics. It was the only way I would have gone. It was when I went to Newbury Comics, because I didn't. After I want to spend the rest of my money on at Newbury, and we have one watching right now. 3 likes, still no comments. That's fine. Just Logan. Okay. So we'll continue. This one is actually Afghanistan. This is Graveyard of Empires, collecting 1 through 4, and then a bonus story. And it collects an all-new story created by Paul Azaceta in his comics writing debut. And Paul Azaceta, I'm sure I'm botching that name here. It's this guy. He did the artwork for Outcast, a book I am probably going to get pretty soon here. It's on my wish list. It's one of those books that they had almost the entire series at my local library. They said they had volumes 7 and 8. I know I read volume 7. I didn't at the time when I first read the series. Volume 8 had just come out, so I wouldn't have that when it just came out. But I didn't have volume 7 when I read it again. And by the time I read it again, volume 8 was out for a long time, like about a year or two, I think. Probably just a year. And so it was like, yeah. And obviously I didn't see they had volume 8. But even then, it's a series I kind of want on myself. And the compendium looks just as well put together as the... it's Circle is the one that Paul Azaceta writes. But here, the artist is Paul Azaceta, colorist is Matthew Wilson, who he's the colorist for Boogie in the Divine. Okay, so I already went over it. Did I go over the artwork for 20th Century Men? I'm going to do it again just in case. There's the artwork of that. And let's go back in time to 20th Century Men. Artwork for that. And then Pilot Season 2. I got a bit distracted when my cousin came in to say hi. I apologize for that. But it's a live stream, so... And he actually said, he was the one who was saying to me earlier how I should probably start doing live streams more often for my videos because of the fact that I'm raw and unedited. And yeah. The reason why I don't edit is just because I don't... For the most part, I don't feel the need to. If I mess up, I'll either, like, correct myself, or go back like I just did. So it's basically like a live stream. But, sometimes I do feel a need to. In fact, if you see my original... I'll show the book right now. My original upload when I showed off Hunter Killer, he actually did the thumbnail for that video. So you'll see if you see that one. I'll probably, if I remember to, I will put the for end cards, I'll put that in. But here is Hunter Killer, written by Mark Waid and drawn by Mark Silvestri. With a creative team this legendary, how has no one heard about this series? Probably because it was a late 90s Image book. Or, actually, I think even early 90s. This one collects the 0th issue and then 1 through 12, right? Yes? Hunter Dossier, and a script book, which is basically just like telling you about like all the characters. I think are Marvel handbooks. Yeah, 0 through 12 actually, and then the 2 issues. So technically 14 issues. I don't like count the 0th issue. The 0th issue was 12. Yeah, so but it was like 12 pages. So roughly like 14, 15 issues collected in this trade, which again, like with 20th Century Men, was only $24.99. And for a book this thick, I think even like Dark Horse is would probably be, I'm estimating, probably 35, like 34.99, or maybe 39.99. And for Marvel, it would be 44.99, and for DC, probably 39.99. Again, my like image, and this is an older book, so credit where credit is due. It probably wouldn't be this. Would it be the same price today as it was back then? I don't know, but the hell, so weird. I heard something. Like it was something like it was like a wind or something, and I put it to my ear, and it was like this. I don't know. There's probably some scientific explanation for it. It was weird. It wasn't like I was doing this, like the wind, like doing that fast. It was like I put my ear and I could hear it. It's weird. But anyways, this is a science fiction action adventure comic, not based off of the movie Hunter Killer, but I do want to check that out just for shits and giggles. It's like, oh, haha, this isn't based off the comic, unless. But this late 90s. I'm pretty not nostalgic. Technically nostalgic, because one of the first YouTubers I was ever subscribed to was, for comic YouTubers at least, was Linkara atop the fourth wall, and he would always do like a 90s to do the 90s book, so I was very nostalgic for that era, kind of sorta. And when I first started out getting back issues, sometimes I'd get a 90s book and I'd actually really enjoy it. And I really enjoyed Spawn, 1-for-1, and it was the first 50 issues too. My library had the first compendium way back when. That was just the only compendium out at the time for Spawn. And then they had and then I read first issue of Union. That was pretty good too. And even that one, like, that was like a relatively unknown everything. Unknown writer, unknown series, unknown character, unknown everything. It was technically a Youngblood spin-off because they do reference Youngblood in it, but so was Spawn. Back in the day, they wanted to protect the universe like Marvel and DC, but then they realized, oh yeah, we can not do that, and we can make it new reader friendly. And then those of you those of you who want to know how long I've been reading comics, I've been reading comics since roughly 2013, 2014. It was it's 2014, because it was when I was 8th grade. It was like May to June 2014, because when I was in 8th grade, because the whole origin story was my study teacher brought some comics that she had from home, and one of them was Simpsons comics. I loved Simpsons at the time. I was really obsessed with that show, so comic book that really appeals to me. For the longest time, I just collect those, because it was like, oh well, I can't branch out to Marvel and DC. There's so much going on over there. I don't know where to start, and I found out where to start. I got there, and then and so on and so forth. And The Dark Knight was what really got me into comics. Like, after watching that movie, I was like, wait, can comics be as good as this movie was? And it turns out, yes, they can be. And then more recently, the reason why I've been getting to Image is just because for the longest time, I didn't have a whole lot of Image comics on my shelf. It was the #1 indie publisher for me, because best track record, best stories, best everything, most well-known stories at least. And then Invincible was big at the time, because the series was coming out. And it's like, yeah, let's get that. And then I haven't looked back since. But I will reiterate here to any new viewer, I do still check out books from a whole bunch of different publishers when I'm getting books from my library, when I'm getting books on a Kindle, or when I'm getting single issues. And of course, there's always going to be a comic that I own that I haven't read from almost every publisher, at least a big three, which I include Image in that big three standard. But yes, this is Cyberforce and Hunter Killer, which you do technically have to get. It's not included in the complete collection, but this is a 5-issue miniseries of 1 through 5. It's collected in here. A 5-issue miniseries crossover with Hunter Killer. Sorry, Cyberforce. And Cyberforce, ironically enough, I do have another 90s Image book that I did get. But I'm waiting until at least the entire series to collect it, because Nearman Condition said you only need 2 complete collections. And I'll check that out, because that looked really interesting. That looked like right up my alley, exactly what I'd want for a 90s Image book. So all the ridiculous names, ridiculous costumes, everything's being super ridiculous, but being entertaining, because the people were having just as much fun writing it as we were reading it. They do give you a table. So did Hunter Killer Complete Collection also did this, but they give you a table of contents. And it's very rare for even for just like especially a book like this, like it's not an omnibus to do. Not even the Spawn Compendium does that. Spawn Compendium, we were just talking about how much I don't like it when they don't have the covers before the issues. Spawn Compendiums don't have anything, none at the end, which that is the worst thing because Spawn like had the best covers. That was a lot of the appeal behind Spawn, was people would see the covers and be like, holy shit, what the hell is this comic? And they check it out, and then there you go, get another Spawn fan on your hand, friend. But I can kind of... I mean, the Spawn Compendium is already pretty damn thick, and having 50 more pages in there to include the covers, it might have made it a bit too thick, but that's 50 pages, you know. 100. But yeah, Separate Force Hunter Killer. At least then I can understand why they wouldn't have covers, because it's already a pretty thick compendium. Invincible, I believe, has the covers. They don't get you the official cover. They just say Chapter 1, but I believe it's I believe it's covered to issue 1. But it's not like it's not even like, no, it's like Nomen Omen. Like, if you saw it with Nomen Omen, it was like that, but it's a Chapter 1. Then we got Obergeist Director's Cut, which I think, actually, I tried too. That's what I call it, Director's Cut. So this was, it collects all the bonus, every Obergeist issue, spin-off, whatever the hell is collected in here. And I believe it was 6 issues total, maybe 8. It was used like new, and honestly, I'd argue it's used very good. At least compared to Pilot Season. So let's see if I can check out... Oh, and an introduction by Bruce Campbell. That was my main selling point. I saw it was a cheap price, and I was like, hey, Bruce Campbell? Why not? And I do like horror comics. Horror, fantasy, and crime are my favorite genres for... And superhero too, but I still have superhero fatigue, so not technically. It's not saying it collects, but everything from Obergeist is collected in here. At least at time it was collected in there. Okay, it's not that. I'm gonna put that file away. That's not the right file. Alright. Obviously, I should have known that. This book is called Term Life, and I say it like that. It's kind of weird. I was trying to introduce it like, oh, it was based off a movie, but there's a whole point. It's based off a movie. I saw the movie. It's, honestly, for what it is, it's pretty good. You know, it's not like, I knew going into it wasn't that great. So it didn't get the best reviews, so it was it was enjoyable enough. Great reviews here, man. Thank you. And so it was kind of one of those things. I was like, yeah, why not? Why not check out? Why not check out the movie that's based off the comic? And hopefully the comic is better than the movie, which it should be. But the movie did try at least, like, it wasn't like completely cookie cutter. There was actually a couple things I was not expecting for it to happen in the movie, but not like super like, oh my god, whoa. But it was like, it was enjoyable enough. Like it's like a rainy day movie, catch on TV, and then like, oh yeah, and you forget about it like 5 seconds after you watched it. Haley Steinfeld's in it. She was in Spider-Verse and Edge of 17. Which Edge of 17, if you're into, like, if you're a fan of like Mean Girls, like all those kind of like chick flick, quote unquote chick flick movies, but anyone can watch it. It's not like super like, it's not like a Bechdel test kind of movies. Which honestly is a perfect way to explain a lot of chick flicks. It was pretty underrated, honestly. But she was in that. She was in Spider-Verse and sequel, and then she's also in the Arcane Netflix show, I believe. I believe this is an OGN, so it doesn't collect issues, but I think we said if it did, it was monthly 5. It was back in the day when I was going over them. And I did show the artwork for Obergeist. I like showing the artwork, even if it's just one little page. I like showing the artwork. And this was like a father. He's in trouble. He has to get his daughter away from the bad man kind of thing. It's protecting his daughter, but it's crime comics, and crime comics, like I just mentioned, crime comics, and we have this like a perfect, like, there's hardly any crime comics I've read that I haven't liked. There's like, if I can list off the top of my head, 2 of them I didn't like. And what was one of them? And it was more just for it's a Simon Oliver book. And Simon Oliver, from what I've no Shroja, what I've heard, Simon Oliver is like I think it's like a plagiarist or something. Look up the if you want to know what I'm talking about. Look up No Shroja Goodreads and cycle through the reviews, and you should see it. From what I remember, it was like he's a plagiarist or something. Like there was a book that came out that he read, and he basically for No Shroja, I believe, just copy pasted it basically. But that was just forgettable. Even now, it's just forgettable. Like it was just kind of like, even, like reading it, I forgot what was happening. Like it was like one of those books. And then I remember the second one. The Kitchen was really good. I remember that. That was I always got that confused with because I thought Simon Oliver also wrote The Kitchen because the name sounds familiar to me. I don't know why, but that is Ollie Masters, I believe, does The Kitchen. That was really good. The movie is not good at all. The movie was pretty bad. That was most of the cartoon movie, but the comic was really good. For crime comics, I really recommend Ratcatcher by Andy Diggle. I'm talking like ones that no one else has really read because obviously you have like Criminal and Killer Be Killed by Ed Brubaker. Those probably like the honestly anything by Ed Brubaker and crime, get that. That's honestly like you can't go wrong. This is the last book for June, and then we'll go on to July books and August, and we'll end the stream. That'll be the older books I wanted to show off today. This is Cowboy Ninja Viking, and if this sounds at all familiar to you, that's because Chris Pratt is trying to make a feature adaptation of this comic. Now, both Term Life and this book were both written by A.J. Lieberman, so both of them will have theatrical adaptations. There is a third series by him called Harvest, but the book was out of stock on Amazon. I didn't want to wait too long for it to arrive. So I just got the issues digitally, and it was actually cheaper to get them digitally because, and it's also better to get them digitally because I would have to pay Use Very Good. In the product description was like, there might be some tears on the hardcover. I was like, how do you get a tear on the hardcover? And I'm like, I'm gonna get that then. I didn't trust the sellers to not have like a bad blemish because again, like this is Use Very Good, and like there's the little bend here. It's nothing on this book as a bad blemish for me. It's whatever. And it's Used Very Good. And it was also on Amazon. I believe I paid $7 for it. It was last in stock too. So the artist for Term Life is not the same as Cowboy Ninja Viking. This is Nick Thornborough for Term Life. But Cowboy Ninja Viking is a very controversial artist, and that is Riley Rossmo. Riley Rossmo, not a lot of people seem to like his, it's not her, his, I found out the hard way, his artwork. It's very, like, they said, like, and this is one of the criticisms of this comic was that during the action scenes, it was hard to tell what's going on. So let's try and get to an action scene. See how, I don't want to get too much into the book. Yeah, I guess it's technically not too bad. I just don't want to get too far into the book and then, show off a big spoiler. This collects all 10 issues of the series, plus every extra in existence, in an exclusive story, there's Deluxe Edition. Which I really like when they do that. I really like when they're like, especially for trade videos, they're like, hey, here's some missing material or some never before published material. So trade readers got the most of your buck. And honestly, you did, because this is $20, and this is taller and thicker than most Image comics. There's 336 pages, I believe. I think it was over 200. See, it's bigger than your taller. And yes, I do wish I got in the hardcover, but it was completely out of print. It was like $100, I think what it was. It was a 40. Something. It was something ridiculous like that. And at that, it wasn't used like new. It was like used good, like, and you guys should use acceptable. Like, nope. So now that's July. No, wait, that's July. I know, I can't remember, but I got confused. I was like, wait, didn't I get that book in July? No, I didn't. All right, so now we're on to July 2023 books, starting with Jim McKine and Jay Lee, Janet K. Lee's Las Vegas, a crime comic taking place in Las Vegas, and it's also a sci-fi crime book too. There's two of these. Ironically enough, I got two sci-fi crime books in 1 month. Because sci-fi crime seems to be kind of like a It's not the worst. It's not terrible. I won't get demonetized. She's clothes. I say demonetized. I'm not monetized. It's a joke. Like I'm gonna get like kicked off, whatever. I think I would. I have to. I have to try really hard. Now, it's something I've always wondered. Not, and I would try and do it, but like, how much? What would I have to do for a small ass YouTuber like me to get kicked off of YouTube almost as quickly as if, say, like, Mr. Beast is something terrible, like he I show meat at himself. Like I show meat. I will always refer to him as I show meat. If you don't know about that, look up I show meat. That was a pretty funny story. And he almost got banned off of YouTube because of him flashing him meat. I obviously accidentally, because I show speed is like TLDR. He shows meat. I show speed is a streamer, and he's really exaggerated. He screams a lot, but he's really funny too. Which is not like one of those. He's not a loud equals funny YouTuber. He's a loud equals actually funny YouTuber, which I think is the perfect way to differentiate loud equals funny and loud equals very actually funny. There's a lot of loud funny YouTubers that are just like really annoying. So most of them I don't think are on YouTube anymore. It's kind of a dying trend for the loud equals funny YouTubers. You have to actually be funny nowadays. And loud. If you might be loud funny, you actually kind of be funny. Kind of thing. Which is kind of a nice little way to wrap things up for YouTube, for the loud equals funny era. Perfect ending. This one's 1 through 4 of Las Vegas. And what was the thing I wanted to mention? It was the artwork. Jim McCon. It was the only Jim McCon book I needed for Image Comics. That's what I needed because he also did Mind the Gap. That was it. So that is Mind the Gap. Then we have Undertow by Steve Orlando. Now, like with Riley Rossmo, like with the Cowboy Ninja Viking, this was yet another book where they said the artwork made it very hard to tell what was going on. So there's actually more than just Steve Orlando. There's a bunch of like spin-offs, not spin-offs, but like bonus stories written by these people. And then I think I got up here too. Let's do this. Hopefully you guys can see that if you want to know who writes some of these stories. I think the only one of note that I remember was Leila Del Luca, right? Yep, that was it. Yeah, I think that like bonus, like how DC Comics does that now, where they have like a bonus story at the end of each issue. I really did the same here. So this takes place underwater. It's like them finding like a barbarian, trying to find like a sea creature, but it ends up being more than they bargained for because it's like a barbarian god kind of thing. Looks very interesting. Steve Orlando again is very hit or miss for me, but it's the last book I needed from him, and it looked very interesting. So I was like, you know what, I'm pick it up. He does have a series that looks really good. And technically, it's one of those series where he did volume 2 of a series, but he didn't do volume 1, and that is called Loaded Bible. Now, Tim Seeley did volume 1 for Loaded Bible, and I don't know if this is at all an unpopular opinion, but I don't like Steve Orlando's writing. No, sorry. Tim Seeley's writing. I like Steve Orlando's writing. Steve Orlando did, well, hit or miss at least. He did, Curse of the Man Thing, Avengers, that series I really liked. But then something like Namesake I didn't really like. But Tim Seeley, like, I don't know this unpopular opinion, but I don't like anything he's written, Tim Seeley. I did like his Grayson series, which everyone seems to like. I didn't like his Image Comics work. I did sort of like Revival, but even then I was like, no reason to continue with the series. I don't care enough to continue. But I should give it another shot. I do want to check out his Hack Slash, but it's literally on Amazon. It's like one day it'll be in print, the next day it'll be out of print, then in print, out of print, in print, out of print. It's like you check next month and it'll be in print and it'll be in stock too. Not even 20 left in stock or anything like that. It'll be like all in stock. And I actually do not have. Sorry, I thought I got a book from him, but I did not. I was gonna get a book from him because it was cheap on Amazon. And it looked interesting enough, but I didn't end up getting that because I got other books instead. Without further ado, let's continue. Yeah, just to reiterate for those of you who might be confused, Steve Orlando is hit or miss for me, and he's doing volume 2 of a series written by Steve that it was originally written by Tim Seeley. Tim Seeley wrote volume 1 of Loaded Bible. Steve Orlando will be writing Volume 2, but Tim Seeley was a writer that I have not read. I have not like most of anything I've read by him. There's more that I read by him I didn't like. I forget what the other one was. Was it Suicide Squad he did that I didn't really like? That was one. Yes, but only ones I can think of off the top of my head. And then he did. Actually, I did like he did Blood Sport. The Valiant Comics, which Valiant Comics is the complete inverse, opposite for Image Comics. Like, Image Comics, almost everything I've read from Image Comics I've liked. Almost everything I've read from Valiant Comics I've absolutely despised. Now, to be fair, I'm not reading anything like classic years. I mean, I would like it better then, but like, and even from authors I like Jeff Lemire did a crossover series I didn't like at all. And but I did like Tim Slee's Bloodspot. His next series is a 2-volume series, and that is Odyssey, a sci-fi retelling of Homer's Odyssey. Hence the name Odyssey. Written by Matt Fraction with artwork by Christian Ward. 10-volume series. It got prematurely canceled after issue 12. If you get the hardcover, you get all 12 issues. And honestly, you probably should have gotten the... I would have gotten the hardcover, but I got... So, for July, a lot of the books I got in July were from third-party sellers. In fact, just two books that I got in July were from Amazon themselves. All the rest were third-party sellers. And this series I got, and I believe you can still get this. I believe it's still in stock. You can get each volume for $5. $5 for each volume. Not in total, but $10 total. And that is not even the price of... Well, actually, it is. For the price of 2, you can get this series. Because it's... Well, not the price of 2, but the price of 1. Sorry. How do you say that? For the price of 1. There you go. The price of 1, you get 2. You get 2 the price of 1. There we go. That was the word. Could not speak there for a second. But you can get 2 with the price of 1 for online. This is $10. Even Amazon is like, nope, this is $14.99. This is $14.99. It's like, no, it's not. It's $10. Why are you overcharging? Amazon does that a couple times. It will do that a few times. So only if a series is out of print. Now, Matt Fraction is one of those writers where I feel like I'll never have everything he's done for Image Comics. Casanova is another series I've been interested in checking out from him, but it's very hard to find each issue, each volume. Like, some out of print. It's like used good, and it's like $20, I think, when the list price is $15. It's like, not for used good, I'm not doing that. And it's a lot of volumes, I believe in. I think even, like, each volume, like, collects 4 issues, so it's like a pretty thin book, too. It's kind of like, nah, I don't know. That one I probably will hold off on. But this one collects 1 through 5. Yes, 10 issues in total. So, Volume 1, Artifar Ithaca, collects 1 through 5 of Odyssey. And then, there's the artwork. Nice little splash page. Then, Volume 2, Odyssey, Volume 2, Sons of the Wolf, collects 6 through 10 of Odyssey. Then we have another Matt Fraction book, and this is also his co-written, artist is Stephen Sanders this time around, and that is Five Fists of Science, a retelling of, not a retelling, but a, yes, technically say that, but it's the Mark Waid and Nikola Tesla kind of story. About saving the world. Which I believe it was based on a true story, wasn't it? Actually based on a true story, not based off of real people, but based off a true story. It doesn't say it in the back here. I'm pretty sure it was, though. Yeah, I can't see. I can't find it. Here's got interior artwork. And it's an OGN, by the way. It doesn't cause any issues. And a lot of just like, and it wasn't planned either, but a lot of the books I got in July were OGNs. And like, it's not a make or break deal. It's a series. No, if it's an OGN and collects 18 issues, I'll still get it. But I like when it collects issues more because then I know that like It's only at the most, it's only like 60 pages. That's very rare. But on average, an Image comic is like 30 pages. So it's just 30 pages, and I move on to the next book. Because what I'll do, I'll do a little example here of how I read the books. Let's say I got 1, 2, 3, 4 books here. I'll read one of each. So one of this, one of that, one of, and then so on and so forth. That's how I read books. I don't usually read it all in one sitting. For OGNs, I do, because OGNs, I don't know where to stop technically. I can't just stop after 30 pages and say, okay, and move on. No, I just read it all in one sitting. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass, like with the Batman Argument Hinged, Volume 4, it kind of was. But for something like Son of Hitler, which is an Image comic series, I do recommend. And also, I recommend Simon Says. Those weren't as bad. It was, it was not exactly fast paced, but it was like interesting enough to have kept my interest. And it's not really a thing where I lose interest. I'm not used to it. I'm not used to reading more than one issue at a time of series. Runaways, I binged that. I could have probably read that all in one day. Honestly, that was how good that series was. The Brian K. run I've read at least so far, anyways. Next one up is Stealth, collecting all 6 issues of the series and not the pilot season issue. They have to get on the Kindle, which is what I did. Written by Mike Costa, with artwork done by Nate Bellegarde and colorist Cameron Bonvillain. Cameron Bonvillain, I see your name a lot. Jason Howard's the cover. And yet again, Sean Mankiewicz is the editor. For those who don't know who Sean Mankiewicz is, he did Gasolina. That was a series I just talked about in MMA Hall. But this series was created by Robert Kirkman and Mark Silvestri. That was Stealth. How long am I going on for? Okay, 15 minutes. Alright, let's try and speed things up a little bit. Sovereign is 1 through 5. This in the next book, they say, is in the tradition of Game of Thrones. No, that was not planned. There was just 2 series I was interested in. And I was like, yeah, no, it's kind of funny. There's also a series called Sovereign that got canceled by Image Comics. I think they get picked up. It's written by different authors, so I found it kind of funny. It's like, oh, was this the one? It wasn't, but yeah, it's the one. It's written by a writer I actually really like, Chris Roberson. I really like his writing, and Paul Mabry does the artwork. And it was basically like magic, which was once lost in this world is coming back. Like all the creatures coming back. A world that once knew gods and mythical creatures, all of which are coming back. Kind of thing. Let's just call it Return of the Gods. Honestly, what was big? Got a question for you guys. What would you rather pick up? A book that said Return of the Gods or Sovereign? I mean, either way, I don't go by like, but I mean like immediately like oh, I'll check out what's that book about. But either way, I saw Chris Roberson. I was like, oh, okay. And again for the sheer shits and giggles of, oh, haha, it's a series that got canceled, that didn't get picked up by Image, but it's from Image Comics, but it wasn't the same series. That's on crowdfunding, one of the crowdfunding sites. So next, Game of Thrones as comic, which is ironic because this author has done a Game of Thrones run, and that is The Last Siege, written by Landry Q. Walker, with artwork done by Justin Greenwood. Chapters 1 through 4 is colored by Eric Jones, and then 5 through 8 is Brad Simpson. So all 8 issues collected in this series. Pretty thick book. And $20 is total. And this was like so I'm currently reading the Game of Thrones graphic novel adaptation, and this is what I want for. This is what I wanted for. I expected for Game of Thrones. Not entirely wordless, but just like Game of Thrones is total opposite of the series. Game of Thrones has too much dialogue, and this one, I wouldn't say it doesn't have enough dialogue, but it doesn't have like a whole lot of dialogue, which I don't mind that in a series, but I feel like Game of Thrones gets to the point where it's like you don't need as much dialogue. You do realize writers of the Game of Thrones it's not written by the same writers. It's adapted by a different writer, and like you do realize Daniel Abraham, the writer of Game of Thrones, the adaptation. You do realize that it's a comic book, right? The artwork usually tells a story, and sometimes it's to save page counts. They will summarize things that happened in a pretty unique way, but still, like, I don't know. I do like a series. I'm just trying to get past this so I can get the Landry Q. Walker's so I can get the Landry Q. Walker's run on Game of Thrones, because Landry Q. Walker did not come to Game of Thrones until Volume 2, or Book 2 rather, because it's 4 volumes per book at least for Volume 1, for Book 1. I know, like confusing. So I think there's like what 7? Let's say there's 7 books in regular novels for Game of Thrones. You get 4 volumes of comic book per per novel book of Game of Thrones. So when I say book 2, that's book 2 of Game of Thrones being adapted into comics, which is 4 volumes at least. Again, at least for book 1, that was 4 volumes. So I'm currently reading volume 2, so I need 2, so I'm almost halfway there. So Last Siege, Andrew Q. Walker did that, and it showed the artwork. And also, so this is one thing that reminded me of Last God, was at the end here. At the end of each issue, you get this. Which I think makes up for the dialogue being so minimal in this series. Is they have that at the end. And Last God had that wall text that was like lore, lore expansion. Which Last God in this is probably going to be a very controversial thing for me to say, but I skipped it. I will be rereading Last God again because I just love that series to death. Without having to, even without reading the lore at the end. But it was like 5 pages of that. It was 5 pages of just text. It was like reading a book. I was like, dude, I don't want to do that. And honestly, I don't even know if reading the lore I will understand any more if I have in that book. It's very, very involved, but very good too. Like, honestly, Last God, that's what I want in fantasy. If you read Last God and you want to know why I like fantasy so much, read Last God. Then you'll know. And Monsters too, but Last God is at least, ends. Next series is also written by Landry Q. Walker, and this is a superhero comic, and this is what the superheroes, it's kind of like what if the superheroes went away forever, and they're on a mission. They don't necessarily die, just like they're lost in space, I believe, and the sidekicks have to take over, which I think is a very interesting storyline. Plot point. It's also 8 issues total, but unlike Last Siege, did I say Last Siege? I hope it did. Last lines went over. But unlike the Last Siege, this series is split up into 2 volumes for 8 issues total. So Danger Club Volume 1, Death collects 1 through 4 Danger Club, and Danger Club Volume 2, Rebirth, collects 5 through 8, and it's a previously owned library book. No, I did not take it in my library. It was the third-party seller gave you the It was a previously owned library book that's like no longer library, which is really weird because for the most part they'll cross out this. It's kind of funny. And this was in it's Hennepin County. I don't know where that is. I'll look up in a second. I believe it was in Indiana, right? I don't know. But yes, 1 through 4 here, and then 5 through 8 here. The artists for Volume 1, artist is Eric Jones, color is by Rustin Drake, additional colors by these people. Whoops. A lot of names. And the reason why it's additional colors is because and also introduced by Matt Fraction. And the reason why this is a bunch of different colorists because at the first page of each issue there is a Silver Age homage, but after this it goes to regular story. But I really like when they do homages. Sometimes I like the homages better than the actual Silver Age what they're parodying. Next series is all in one. It's OGN. This is Gunning for Ramirez, a drug cartel book. And if you want to see a trailer for this comic, you can do the QR code right here. And I did test this out. It does work. You can do it right at this live stream. I'll put it up for a little bit more. This is written and drawn by Nicholas Petrumau. I got a comment. And I have only read a few Image comics, and they were great. Mostly Marvel for me. Yeah. Oh, Return of the Gods sounds interesting. Yeah. So I hope you know what I meant by Return of the Gods and Sovereign. Like, what would be the better title? I was talking about. There's no at least at the top of my head, an actual series called Return of the Gods. It was just kind of like a what if kind of scenario. But yeah, I did start out with Marvel. I was mainly Marvel. DC occasionally, and then, well, first off, I was Bongo Comics or Simpsons comics. When I got into actual books that weren't Simpsons, that was Marvel and DC. And I would primarily get, like, the books, oh, Batman, I read Batman, I watched Batman, I like Batman, let's get some Batman books. I'd go off what, like, Watch Mojo said, what this guy said. So, for the most part, I had, like, just a basic kind of comics, which wasn't bad, because they're all good comics. I mean, I probably wouldn't have read the Civil War until much later, and that's my favorite Marvel comics. Marvel Art comics. Yes, yeah. I was still, I hope you knew what I meant. You did. Alright, so back to Gunning for Ramirez. This is like a drug cartel book, and it was, like, actually, here. It was what if the deadliest assassin in all of Mexico, a man with dozens of kills to his name, was actually a vacuum repairman in Arizona. A ridiculous sounding book, and he isn't drug cartel, it was the villain of this drug cartel. And it looks pretty interesting. The main downside people didn't like about the artwork. The artwork was for the longest time I didn't like this book because the artwork I thought was way too cartoony for this kind of storyline. But honestly, the more and more I thought about it, I don't usually care about artwork in general unless it's like terrible artwork. Like the only artists I don't really like that I can think off the top of my head, because most of them I'm like, I didn't even notice, honestly. The only I didn't really like was Squirrel Girl artist Erica Henderson. And even then, like, she probably will do, like, a series that... Wasn't there a series I read by her that was drawn by her a lot more? I can't remember, but I think there was. But, like, even then, like, Erica Henderson, it's just because it was what the artwork was just, like, for Squirrel Girl. I mean, like, that's kind of comic it was, you know? But, I feel like arts for me is kind of, like... There's no artists I can think of I really hate. It's like artists. It's not like a make or break deal. I'm also a bit on top of being a bit colorblind. I still see color, but I'm colorblind. Like I can't tell colors. Like it's just on top of my head. Like, oh, that's red. No, it's green. Oh, that's blue. No, it's purple. But for the most part, like it's just like one of those things. It's hard to explain, but I hope you guys know what I mean. But on top of being colorblind, I'm also artist blind. Where I'm like, who's this artist? Oh, it was Derek Robertson this whole time. How did I not notice that? Or a good example is when I was reading Transmetropolitan, they had a special issue that was done by a bunch of different artists, and I recognized all the artists. And I was flipping through it, and I was like, I can't tell who's who. For the most part, I can. There's some very like Alex Ross. Obviously, there's obviously some exceptions, but especially back in like 80s comics, that all those mesh together. Manga artists, all those mesh together for me. But for the most part, like especially back in the day, like the old comics, I can't tell. Jack Kirby, yeah, kind of, sort of, but this one is called Lovesick, written and drawn by Luana Vecchio, and I have to be very careful about what I show because it's an erotica comic. Now, this is if you're not into erotica, I would say to still check the series out because I wasn't when I first bought this. But it was like people want to be killed by her. It was kind of like a dominator kind of thing. But it was more than just erotica. It was kind of like it's murdering kind of thing. It's a crime kind of comic. It looks very horror comic. It looks very interesting. So it's not like a it's not porn. It's like a horror comic. But yes, I have to be very careful when I show. All right, so let's do. Okay, so look quick. There we go. Okay. Then we have Red City, written by Daniel Corey, with artwork done by artists Mark DeSantos and Anthony Seadaway. One does half, the other does the other half. And this is the other sci-fi crime comic that I was alluding to earlier. 1 through 4. I originally said this was original graphic novel, but I found out after it collects 4 issues, 4 issue miniseries. Moriarty, volumes 1 and 2, written by the same writer, which was Daniel Corey, and the same artist, which is Anthony Seadaway, but no Mark DeSantos for Moriarty. Moriarty, volume 1, The Dark Chamber, is 1 through 5, and volume 2 is 6 through 8. No, wait, this was 1 through 4, right? I don't know. It's 9 issues total. I just can't remember off the top of my head which one collected which. And Volume 2 collects the last 2 issues to finish off the 9-issue series. But Volume 2, Lazarus Tree. And this one was 20 years after Sherlock Holmes dies. Moriarty has to find out a mystery surrounding his brother, Sherlock Holmes' brother. That sounds pretty interesting to me. It's like, yeah, check it out. And it was also a series that I happened to come across, and honestly, it was a good selling point for me was that the Amazon with this thing, they don't exactly give you, if it's not on Amazon themselves, they won't exactly give you the best price right at the bat, like checking off like the like right on the homepage, on the page of the book. You have to go scroll down a little bit and do used, and usually get a better price. But it was like $28 for this volume, and I got it for $10. And I would have gotten them both from Amazon. There's a third party seller on Amazon, so I would have gotten it on Amazon. But Volume 1 was used very good, and I was like, yeah, I can get it used like new for only $1 more. It was still within. It was still cheaper than the price than the original price. Okay, so Nowheresville is a crime comic with beatniks. It sounds very interesting to me. It is written by and drawn by Mark Ricketts. Oh, we did do artwork. Going a bit too fast there. I don't know if I showed the artwork from Moriarty. I'm pretty sure I did. And we have Dioramas, a love story, which is the story and portrait of a serial killer and his muse. The artwork looked very similar, reminded me a lot of Darwin Cook, which we were just talking about earlier, because one of the Southern Cross was dedicated to his memory. Volume 2 was, at least. And it's the artwork, interior artwork. Night Trippers is like a Elvis serial killer. A new wave of British movers and shakers dictate the direction of art, music, cinema, satire, and freedom for the rest of the world. And it was like it's a bunch of vampire cults, like a lot of stuff going on in this series. It's just, everything about it seemed interesting to me. Piqued my interest. And the artwork, right? Yeah, it was a serial killer obsessed with Elvis. Not Elvis Presley as a serial killer. Which that would have been pretty interesting. And we have another anthology book. So this was oh god, okay, so I didn't go with the artist was alright, so sorry. Alright, I'm going a bit too fast. Dioramas, pencils and gray tones. Bunch of names. That's right too, I forgot about that. Bunch of names of this guy. Enter Dioramas. Still written by Mark Ricketts though. Then for Night Trippers, the artist was Mika Ferrator. Again, here's the art. Show it again. Then we have their anthology book, also written by Mark Ricketts, so he writes like a 5-page story in here. But the anthology series was Put the Book Back on the Shelf, a Belle and Sebastian anthology. Belle and Sebastian is like apparently like a indie rock band, and each of these writers are taking their lyrics and putting their own interpretations into it, which is very interesting to me. And I'll show probably the best artwork in this book. Like this is like cool detailed artwork, and I don't know if they show more than that. Oh my god, what the hell? Not really. And you get like more sketchy artwork like this. Then we have Whiskey Dickle, International Cowgirl. Again, Mark Ricketts. It's rodeo queen, astronaut, diplomat, movie star, international cowgirl. That's Ms. Whiskey Dickle. Seems pretty strange, but also interesting. And the artist here is Mike Hawthorne. So for Put the Book Back on the Shelf, Rick recommended a story for that series. What was the other one? I forget, but it was a lot of them were like pretty like not well known names like Mark Ricketts. Stringer, this is written by Patrick Kindlin. It's Kind Lun, Kind LON. And then Paul Tucker does the artwork. And this was, if you've ever seen the Clint Eastwood movie The Mule, this was pretty damn similar. and it wasn't except instead of being an old man, it was a tennis player. And took place in the 80s too. And the meal takes place in present day. So that was July's haul, and also the meal takes off a true story. I don't believe Stringer is a true story. But it's a drug cartel book. But those who don't know what the meal is about, it's like the meal for drug cartels. Very interesting. I remember really liking the meal, so I was like, yep, getting that book. And I had a Patrick Kinlan book, Frontiersman, and I wanted to get that book. And it was pretty interesting. And it was out, also, I got this for $17.99. List price was $22.99, but I got it for $17.99. And this and Lovesick were the only two I can think of off the top of my head in July that I got that were not from third-party sellers, or from Amazon themselves. But even then I got them for like $34 total. So, and they're pretty thick too, when it was a hardcover. Now we are on to August. So we're done with July, now on to August. Angelic, collecting 1 through 6 of the series written by Simon Spurrier, with artwork done by Castor Wingard. The longest time, because of the cover, because of what the book was kind of like the artwork, and that was all ages kind of book, I didn't want to get this book, but the next book was also written by Simon Spurrier, and it's the only Simon Spurrier book that I needed for Image. I was like, yeah, I'll check this out. And honestly, I did like, what's the book that was similar to this I liked? But there was the book called Oddly Normal, which is actually, this one at least is T for teen. Oddly Normal was E for everyone, but still all ages. That's just kind of like a few things in here. Like, I would say T for teen, like this one especially was probably PG, where E for everyone is G. Like TV Y7. In fact, Oddly Normal would be like perfect for Butch Hartman to adapt to a TV show. Hopefully not too obnoxious. Because Oddly Normal, one of the best things I liked about that series was that it wasn't too obnoxious. Like, it wasn't like trying too hard to be for kids and like, oh, well, it's fine, but just stupid jokes in here. No, it was actually an interesting story, and it had some pretty slightly dark elements. Like, not like super dark, but like just like they didn't let the characters off easy or whatever, and there was kind of like some somewhat dark themes, like very minor, but like still like more than you would expect from a just like common like Ugly Normal. But Angelic is anthropomorphic animals living in the world. And I believe it's with humans too, right? No. But series 1 through 6, and it is, I don't know why, but it's smaller, much smaller than your average Image comic trade. Which that's one of those things that I don't think I'll ever be able to explain fully why I don't like that. But for like the Paul McCartney book, there's a smaller Paul McCartney book, and also a good example of this is the art of the. Well, I can read letters. It's very small, very small. Angelic 1 through 6. Cry Havoc 1 through 6. Simon Spurrier writes this, and the artwork is done by Ryan Kelly, right? Oh, a bunch of colors. Why you got so many colorists? It's a good thing, you know. But this was actually, it makes sense, but there's 3 colorists because it takes place in 3 different portions in this different parts of this guy's life. There's a street magician, savaged by supernatural terror, crossing war to Afghanistan, and the monstrous held captive by the rogue beast who is sent to kill. And these all meet Luz, and this is who he was, kind of thing. Looked very bizarre, very interesting. Simon Spurrier, I like his writing. I liked his Hellblazer series. Here's the artwork here for Cry Havoc. Again, 6 issues collected here. Then we have Samurai's Blood, all 6 issues. This and the next one are both take place in feudal Japan. This was used like new. I'm sorry, not used like new. This was used very good, and that is because there's a few blemishes here and there too. But there's writing on this book. Very hard to see, thankfully. This one is written by, created by Michael Baranya and Owen Wiseman. Script done by Owen Wiseman, and pencil Dan Kim. Inks Matthew Dalton. Colors Sexy Yararo. It's a really weird name. And that was it. And the artwork again. I don't know why I probably didn't show it off before. Then we have Hitomi, written by H.S. Tack, and then art and covers done by Isabella Mazzanti. Very reminiscent of, especially the cover. It reminded me a lot of the artwork from Monstrous. It's not the same, not the same artist though. Artists for Monstrous is Sam Takeda. Here's the artwork. But this is also Feudal Japan kind of story. Chroma, much like one of the side stories in. Oh, Hitomi 1 through 5, by the way, is collected in Hitomi. I just went over. Just had it. Oh, Cry Havoc. Also, one of the side stories was a beast hunting that kind of thing. This one is also a beast, but it's kind of like a Shape of Water, but without without the love story in here. It's more like a friendship between the boy and the beast, and the beast is like has been led to believe it's a beast, so the boy kind of has to like tell her, no, you're special, one of those kinds of books. But written and drawn by Lorenzo De Felici. T14. The reason why I mention this is because it has some pretty bloody violence. So sometimes T14 for Image isn't exactly for kids, or at least not like kids. Like it's probably there's probably more instances of bloody violence in this book, so probably like PG-13. But other than that, I think it's pretty. I think it's like still T14. It's not like super gutsy or super violent, or whatever, or vulgar. 1 through 4 collected here. As you can tell, as you can probably see, each issue is much longer than a bit longer than actually double sized. Than your average Image comic trade, average Image comic issue, or average comic issue in general. Cold Spots, a book I actually read by Colin Bunn. This is Colin Bunn. I've read nothing I've read by him I've hated, except for Unholy Grail. But I'm rereading that right now, and so far it's a bit better than I remember being. So pretty much everything I've read by Colin Bunn I've absolutely loved, and this is no different. This one I read a while. It's one I've read before. It was at a local library, but then I decided to get it myself because it was cheap too, and it was the only Colin Bunn Image book I needed to complete my series set. 1 through 5 collected in here. Artist here is Mark Torres, and it's a great artist. There you go. Snapshot 1 through 4. Andy Diggle and Andy Diggle writes. Jock illustrates. Another book I read. Another book I liked pretty. I liked a good amount. It wasn't like a super like, oh my god, this is the best book ever. But I still enjoyed it enough. And it's not a crime comic. It's like a snapshot. He finds like this guy. This guy works at a comic shop, and this guy comes in with a phone, and he leaves the phone, and the guy finds the comic shop owner finds like all these like gutsy, gory pictures on his phone, and it's a mystery. And then shit hits fan. Very interesting story, but its pacing felt a bit off for me, and I feel like it could have been a bit longer. But I still really enjoyed it and recommend it. And it's also black and white artwork, but it complements the story. Complete Witchblade Volume 3, collecting Witchblade 37 to 57. Witchblade Destiny's Child 1 through 3, and Witchblade Blade Death issue 1. So a lot of book and a lot of book and a cheap price. It's $30 for this thick. This was the main selling point for me. And again, it's an early 90s Image, and that's just always a selling point for me. And I think a lot of that is because we don't get a whole lot of early 90s Image in collected editions, at least ones that are readily available, like Pit hasn't been collected. Youngblood hasn't been collected unless you get the sequel series. That was the artwork. Then we have what's that? Okay. Then we have Green Valley 1 through 9. It's written by Mike Landis, who wrote Chronicle, a movie I was talking about earlier, and a really damn good movie, by the way. Check it out if you haven't already. Penciler is Giuseppe Camuncoli. Inker is Cliff Rathburn, and Jean Francois Bulow is the colorist. And it's a fantasy book, but like they get transported back. It's like I believe it takes place in present day. It's two bros, and they're in like a fantasy kind of comic, and in the fantasy kind of world, not comic, but a fantasy kind of world. Get whisked away from what I remember. Yeah, it was like time travel, right? Yeah. I remember hearing about it. But yeah, fantasy kind of book. They said it was very similar to in feel to Chrononauts by Mark Millar, a book I really enjoyed. So there we go. Even more reason to pick up this book in Max Landis. But the only two drawbacks are Dude Bros and the fact that they said it was like a movie pitch and made into a comic. But both those, I was like, well, but that matters. It's kind of one of those things I thought at first, and it's like the more I thought about it, yeah, no, doesn't matter that much. Starhenge Book 1, The Dragon the Boar, collecting all 6 issues of this miniseries, hardcover. So for August, I only got 11. It's the least I got in the last few months, but as you can tell, it's because I got some thicker books and hardcovers. Written and drawn by Liam Sharp. Now, I'm going to try and show... Here we go. It's good enough. A lot of it is just, like big, like, it's kind of like... I'll show you what I mean. And a lot of people give this book praise. A lot of big names, like Matt Fraction and Karen Gillan, I believe. I think Mike Mignola, right? Dave Gibbons. Who else? Michael Conrad, Brian Bendis, Matt Fraction. I already said I know, but who was it? Oh, Tom King, Mark Millar, John Cassidy. So a lot of people like this book, and it collects all 6 issues. And show the artwork and written by Liam Sharp. Last and certainly not the least is 8 Billion Genies, written by Charles Soule with artwork done by Ryan Brown, the same creative team behind Curse Wars. Damn good Image comic. I actually got the entire series, from a subscriber as a gift. I'm still very, very happy, very thankful for that. Not, obviously I'm thankful for that, but I'm still like as stoked as I was. You know, one of those things where like you're just as excited here, remembering that yes, you were when you first got it. 1 through 8 collected in here. Here's the artwork. There's a lot of extras, not a lot of extras, but and each issue was pretty long too. And some extras like scripts, interviews, kind of thing. But that, as they say, is that. It's the end of the live stream. I have not done anything else than 2 live streams today, so I'm gonna get some other shit done today. And that is it. 62 minutes. Wait, 82 or 62? 82. Alright, that's the end.